بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How are you, my students? I hope that you're happy and healthy and ready for today's lesson, which is the beginning of Unit 1. Listen and discuss. But before we do that, let's revise what we previously took in the intro, the listening part. Of course, you remember we talked about falconing and falcons, and we listened to the interview between the interviewer and Mr. Ali. We answered some true or false questions, and we filled this chart regarding Mr. Ali, the way they transported using SUV, the accommodation, where did they stay? Of course, they stayed in the desert, in tents, not in hotels. We also, the hunting areas where falcon hunting is allowed, the competition, of course, they respect each other. Just because it's a competition, it doesn't mean that you have to disrespect your opponent. So they have respect for each other. Profit, of course, yes, it's good for good hunters only. Training, yes. Learn skills and being an apprentice. So this is today's objectives. These are today's objectives. Name a comedy show. Recall a comedy show, write sentences using new vocabulary, answer questions about the text. This is the title of the unit. This is the title of the unit, to laugh out loud. As you know it, the abbreviations LOL, as you write them sometimes, it means laugh out loud, to laugh out with a loud voice. So this is the unit goals slide here. The vocabulary, we'll be talking about humor and jokes. So this is the theme of this unit: humor, laughing, jokes, and so on. Functions, talk about humor, tell and respond to jokes. Grammar, past and present participle adjectives, get plus the adjective, get plus the participle, the comparatives. Listening, will be listening for some specific information. The pronunciation, the B and V sound, the B and the V sound. Reading, laughter really is the best medicine. So as I said before, we'll be focusing on this theme, the laughing theme, the laughter. Writing, write a voicemail message and a humorous scene from a TV show. The form, meaning and function, expressing wishes, regret, and criticism, such, that, so, that. Models for making suppositions and speculations, drawing conclusions. So all of these, we'll be learning about them in this unit. So number one here, what TV show or comedian makes you laugh the most and why? So of course now, with the technology and the internet and many streaming services, of course you watch some comedy TV shows, maybe comedy movies. So which show is your favorite, and which comedian here, which comedian makes you laugh the most and why? So you have to answer this by yourself. Which is your preferable, the best comedy TV show, of course, and who is the best actor or maybe actress in the comedy genre, of course, and why? Number two, what is the funniest joke you know? What is the funniest joke that made you laugh? The funniest joke you have ever heard. So try to think of it and tell it to your friend or your colleague. What do you think makes a joke funny? This is a really interesting question. What do you think makes a joke funny? Is it the person who tells it, the way he tells it? Is it the joke itself, the events of the joke, and so on? So you have to answer this question and discuss it with your friend or with your colleague. What makes a joke funny? Sometimes it's all of the above. The person who says the joke, the way he tells the joke, and the joke itself, the event, the story of the joke. So these are the questions for this lesson. Look at the cartoons, pages 5 and 6. So open your books, pages 5 and 6. Look at the pictures, the cartoons there. What animals are the jokes about? So of course you can see some drawings, cartoon drawings of some animals. What are these animals? Again, what animals are the jokes about? So look at the pictures and try to guess some of the animals there. So let's see the answer to these questions. A cat and a mouse, a cat and a mouse, a parrot, penguins, and a snail, a grasshopper, and a centipede. So a cat and a mouse, as you can see in the picture. Always there's a cat and a mouse. Wherever there's a cat, of course, there is a mouse if you're trying to tell a joke. A parrot, as in the picture here, penguins and a snail, a grasshopper, and a centipede. So this is the article here. Listen with your books closed. Listen with your books closed. So we'll be listening to each one of them. And for now, just close your book and listen, because we'll be listening again and reading along. So listen with your books closed.
A family of mice were being chased by a cat. The scared mice were cornered when the father mouse turned around and barked ruff, ruff, ruff. The surprised cat ran away. When one of the young mice said, "Nice going, Dad," the father mouse replied, "You see, son, it pays to be bilingual." A student with a parrot on his shoulder leaves a lecture theatre. Another student follows him. He stops him and says, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I have to say, I was astonished by your parrot's remarkable reaction to the lecture on ancient history. He seemed frightened at the frightening parts, sad at the depressing parts, fascinated at the interesting parts, and amused at the funny parts. I could have sworn, I even heard it laugh. I have to say, I was amazed. Don't you find it surprising?" "Yes," he replies, "I was very surprised." He hated the class.
So you can see in the first joke here, the one with the cat and the mouse, when the mouse barked, he said, as it says here, ruff, ruff. This is the sound of how a dog barks. So, and then he told his son, it pays to be bilingual. What does it mean to be bilingual? Do you know the meaning of bilingual? Something related to language. Yes, bilingual means that you know two languages. So it means here that he can speak dog language. That's why the cat ran away, because he thinks there's a dog there. And jumping on to the next part of the article here, the next joke here, let's listen.
A truck driver is driving a truckload of penguins to the zoo in the next town, when his truck breaks down. While he's working on the truck, another truck driver stops and asks if he needs help. The first truck driver says, "If I gave you $100, would you take these penguins to the zoo?" The second trucker agrees to do it. Hours later, the truck driver is still trying to fix his truck when the second truck driver drives past with all of the penguins still in his truck. The puzzled first truck driver says, "Didn't you take them to the zoo?" The second truck driver says, "Yes, we went to the zoo, and there was money left over. So now we're going to a restaurant."
So notice here the word puzzled. Here the word puzzled. The puzzled first truck driver. Although it looks like a past simple because of the ed, but it's not. So what's this word? Is it a verb? Let's see it again. The puzzled first truck driver. So we're talking about the bus driver that he is puzzled. Yes, that's correct, which means that the word puzzled here is an adjective. It's an adjective. We're describing the truck driver as he is puzzled, confused, let's say. So continuing here with the article about the grasshopper, as you can see. Let's listen.
A grasshopper, a snail, and a centipede are relaxing in the grasshopper's house, when they realize that they are getting hungry. They decide that one of them should go out for a pizza. The snail says, "I'd go, but I'm kind of slow." The grasshopper says, "I don't mind going, but my hopping will shake the pizza and mess it up." So they decide to send the centipede. The snail and grasshopper wait and wait. The longer they wait, the hungrier they get. Finally, when an hour passes and the centipede still hasn't returned, the irritated snail and grasshopper decide to go look for him. They get as far as the front door where they find the centipede sitting there putting on his shoes.
So, as we have listened to this joke, it's related to the centipede. Do you know what's a centipede? Do you know what's unique about centipede? That it has lots of what? Yes, that's correct. Lots of feet. So they're sending the centipede to bring the pizza, and when it took so long, they went to find out what's happening, and they saw at the end that the centipede is still wearing its shoes. They get as far as the front door where they find the centipede sitting there putting on his shoes. That's why it took so long, because some centipedes has 40 legs, some of them has 100 legs, and so on. So again, listen and read along. Now open your books and read along as you listen. So let's listen again.
A family of mice were being chased by a cat. The scared mice were cornered when the father mouse turned around and barked rough, rough, rough. The surprised cat ran away. When one of the young mice said, "Nice going, Dad," the father mouse replied, "You see, son, it pays to be bilingual." A student with a parrot on his shoulder leaves a lecture theatre. Another student follows him. He stops him and says, "I'm sorry to bother you, but I have to say, I was astonished by your parrot's remarkable reaction to the lecture on ancient history. He seemed frightened at the frightening parts, sad at the depressing parts, fascinated at the interesting parts, and amused at the funny parts. I could have sworn, I even heard it laugh. I have to say, I was amazed. Don't you find it surprising?" "Yes," he replies, "I was very surprised." He hated the class. A truck driver is driving a truckload of penguins to the zoo in the next town, when his truck breaks down. While he's working on the truck, another truck driver stops and asks if he needs help. The first truck driver says, "If I gave you $100, would you take these penguins to the zoo?" The second trucker agrees to do it. Hours later, the truck driver is still trying to fix his truck when the second truck driver drives past with all of the penguins still in his truck. The puzzled first truck driver says, "Didn't you take them to the zoo?" The second truck driver says, "Yes, we went to the zoo, and there was money left over. So now we're going to a restaurant." A grasshopper, a snail, and a centipede are relaxing in the grasshopper's house, when they realize that they are getting hungry. They decide that one of them should go out for a pizza. The snail says, "I'd go, but I'm kind of slow." The grasshopper says, "I don't mind going, but my hopping will shake the pizza and mess it up." So they decide to send a centipede. The snail and grasshopper wait and wait. The longer they wait, the hungrier they get. Finally, when an hour passes and the centipede still hasn't returned, the irritated snail and grasshopper decide to go look for him. They get as far as the front door where they find the centipede sitting there putting on his shoes.
So now that we have listened and read along, let's continue with our lesson. Here are some questions to discuss among yourselves. Let's read them quickly. Which jokes did you understand? Which didn't you understand, and why? So which did you understand and which ones you didn't? Which jokes did you think were funny and why? Try to find out why were they funny. To you, of course, according to you. Which jokes weren't funny? Why not? Why aren't they funny? Had you heard any of these jokes before? Have you heard them before? Yes or no? If someone has to explain a joke to you, is it still funny? Why or why not? So if someone tells a joke and you didn't understand it, and then he tries to explain it to you, is it funny or not after the explaining? So because sometimes if they have to explain it, it's not funny. The last question here, do you like to tell jokes? Why or why not? Do you like to tell jokes? Are you a funny man? Do you like to tell jokes? Why or why not? Here's a culture note. Humor often relates to the history and culture of a particular country or region. Therefore, people from different cultures will find different situations funny. What most people of one country consider funny, people of another country may not. Jokes also often depend on playing with the words of a language. This is why translating a joke effectively from one language to another can be impossible in some cases. I 100% agree with this, because jokes sometimes are related to a culture of a country or the people. That's why, or you can play a role, you can play with the language, because that's why sometimes when you translate a joke from one language to another language, it's not funny as it is in the first language. Here's a quick check here. Exercise A, vocabulary. Complete the sentences with one of these words. We have astonished, fascinated, puzzled, bilingual, irritated, and remarkable. So here are some hints for these words, some hints to tell you the meaning of these words. For example, the word astonished. The woman was amazed or very surprised because the parrot understood the lecture. So this is a hint for the meaning of the word astonished. Bilingual, the mouse barked. In other words, it scared the cat by speaking a dog's language. Bilingual. The word by itself, the two letters by, it means two of the one thing. For example, bicycle, because it has two cycles, the wheels, bicycle. Fascinated, the parrot was very interested in the lecture. Irritated, the grasshopper and the snail were annoyed because the centipede was taking a long time to get the pizza. So this situation was irritating to the grasshopper and the snail. Puzzled, as I said before, the truck driver is confused because the man returned with the penguins. Remarkable, the parrot is unusual and noticeable because he's able to understand the lecture. So these are some hints to help you understand the question. So, astonished, fascinated, puzzled, bilingual, irritated, and remarkable. Number one, someone who can speak both Arabic and English. Someone who can speak both Arabic and English, two languages. I think this is an easy one here. So, that's correct. We call him bilingual. Number two, someone who is amazed at something is someone who is amazed, from the word amazing. So this is an adjective here. Someone who is amazed at something. Let's see, the answer here is astonished. So amazed is the same as astonished. Something that is incredible can also be called, when something is incredible, we can also call it what? Something that is incredible can also be called, let's see the answer here, remarkable. So incredible and remarkable are synonyms. Number four, someone who is confused by something. If you remember, we said confused. Someone who is confused by something. If you remember the first truck driver, he was puzzled. So confused, puzzled are the same. Number five, someone who is annoyed at something is when someone is annoyed by something. So it's the same as, let's see the answer here, irritated. Last one, someone who is very interested in something is, of course, fascinated. If you are interested in something, it means that you are fascinated about it. Exercise B, comprehension. Answer the questions. So let's answer them together. Number one, how is the word bilingual used in a humorous way in the joke about the mice? If you understand the joke, the word bilingual, how is it used in the first joke? Let's see the answer here. It implies that cat and mouse are two different languages. It implies that cat and mouse are two different languages, and also, of course, the mouse and dog languages. The second one, why was the student at the lecture theater amazed by the parrot? Why was he amazed by the parrot? You can look it up in your book. So the answer is because the parrot showed human reactions to the lecture as if he understood everything. Number 3, why was the parrot owner surprised? Why is this funny? Why was the parrot owner surprised? Why is this funny? Because the owner was surprised that the parrot liked the lecture so much since he didn't like the class. It's funny because we don't expect a parrot to attend classes. This is why it's funny, because parrots are expected not to attend classes. Number 4, how did the second truck driver misinterpret the first truck driver's request? So the joke about the penguins. How did the second truck driver misinterpret the first truck driver's request? So the answer here is that he took the penguins to the zoo for a visit rather than leave them there to be an exhibit. Of course, then they went to the restaurant because there's extra money. He took the penguins to the zoo for a visit rather than leave them there to be an exhibit. Number 5, why shouldn't the snail and grasshopper have sent the centipede out for the pizza? Again, why shouldn't the snail and grasshopper have sent the centipede out for pizza? What was wrong about sending the centipede to get the pizza? If you remember the joke. So let's see the answer here. Because it takes a long time for the centipede to put shoes on his many legs or many feet, because it took a long time. All of that time he was wearing his shoes. Here's a language builder for you. The word centipede comes from 2 Latin words, centum, and which means 100, and pes means foot. So literally it means 100 feet, because of course he was wearing his shoes. Maybe he has 100 feet. That's why he took so long. And with that, we reach the end of this lesson. See you next lesson, inshallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.